Hi, Dinesh. Thank you so much for joining early. Hi, Daswarjit. Thanks for joining in early.
Welcome, welcome. So, all right.
Yeah, let's just wait for a few more minutes for Mathanvi to join in.
Okay, sure.
Mathanvi is trying to join in. I think he will be in soon. Wait for one more minute. Thank you, Moraya. Thank you, Purnima, for joining us early. Thank you, Roshini. Thank you, Ima. We will start soon. Hi, Mathanvi, is that you? Teach for Northeast?
Hi, Shim. Yeah.
Hi, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Dr. Achan. Thank you so much for joining in.
Nice to see you again, Shame.
I think we can start on time today.
Great.
Yeah. I want to start with saying good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining in. And I hope you're all safe, healthy, and happy also, because happiness is very important. And as part of our ritual, I want to first thank our partner, Ishi. And Ishi is by Project Kharak, supported by Prince Claus Foundation, and the amazing women entrepreneurs of Manipur, um, Hillwire, Gogo Foods, Myra Foods, Dwellities, and Cakes and Bakes. Please check them out. They have wonderful products. Um, so, welcome to our third webinar. And this webinar is presented by Unibrow Studio with Ishi. Today, we will be discussing about art in education in context of Manipur. Despite being a small state, we have more than 30 ethnic communities, which which means that we have innumerable cultures, tradition, folk songs, folklores, dialects, art forms, and because we are considered, we come under as minority. There is always an echo. There is always a call for preservation of our art and culture. But the question is, do we know enough about our own culture to appreciate and preserve it? Uh, for the entire state of Manipur, we have one art college in Imphal, and we have one culture university again in Imphal, and we have painting and drawing classes and competitions. We have stories in textbooks, but is that enough to understand and appreciate our history, our deep history actually? And do we need art education to help us appreciate our own art and culture? Why is there a conspicuous absence of art in our education system? Is there a need to change? How do we change? So these are a few topics, few questions that we will be dissecting and discussing, and each panelist will be given 5 minutes to share their thoughts and views. After which we will have 15 to 20 minutes of discussion, panel discussion, and later on we will invite questions from the audience. So please, stay with us and do drop in your questions, in the chat box. And now, to begin with, I want to invite Surjit, Surjit Nomaikapam, who is also very sweetly known as Bon Bon, to please lay out his view in this topic. Da, please go ahead.
Thank you, Unibro. Thank you, Sim, for inviting me and to everyone for joining today evening. And today I'm here as not as an expertise, but I will share as an artist. As I've been working as an artist, I've been working with my artist for around 2 decades right now. So I'll be sharing a little bit about that. And please also, please don't mind, I will be mixing Manipuri and English at the same time. So yeah, if there is someone who need a translator from Manipur to English, is there someone? Please let me know also. Yeah, and maybe Sim can also help that. Yeah,
Definitely, that definitely.
Okay, great. So yeah, So speaking with my dialogue, mayambu nungaijari yamna nungaire unaba ko. Ado mini mga khatane akoi matamju am lawjararoige. Akoi ngasige art education je akoi anywhere that apply to where is not necessary artist khatagi wanate. Art education should be starting from our own home. Akoigi yum dagi hor kadamni na lay aigi wakanda. Even akoigi sak thongbi kaina akoigi sigi akoigi anga da hore kibe sak thongbi kaina sigi post. Sidagi num hore akoigi art education. Akoina yamna observe to dabagi akoina yamna khanjalu dabagi ni haitan. Sathongbi sanaba matamda akoina nupa nupi ju lairakte adum kanda. Haibadi nupa ju thongi nupi ju thongi adagi mayam je sigi angang oregi horakpa matam jini akoina yamna focus hauduise aduna hajik sigi akoina angang oregi yamna pure heart oiba masagi nupa nupi adagi ahan angang khangdana mogi yamna nungsiba khopada loinaba moida gender adagi caste religion loi lektaba ngatane moida adadi combine toroke have the education school hek kabadagi hore akoigi masagi kenoje masagi nupana side adomda phangadabni nupina side somda phangadabni habagi system amalai sidagi di amuk masagi art education hari habidi akoi hoi matam amada adu torambagi matam amada kanaramani magi situation amalermani hajariba habidi ngasagi akoi the process neba our life is in our own process akoi perfect loinaba lai habjunate haji akoi akoina leriba haji lai ju perfect laire habnate aduna aina ngasi topic se ngasi gi art education aina hajaningi je ngasi akoina yengataba miyengje akoina hoji leriba situation jida amuk hina akoi je grow le hange haragadi akoi maikai ato kadom lomda habidi kadom lomda branch hantoropa yagadagi habidani habi ujao mudi hore u ama hore na akoi masado sum kappa nataba ugi masado let it branch abu santo oga akoi khona mari akoi khona mari amadagi amuk pambi amamu horaga amuk santo oga amuk khona amadagi pambi khona leidana mari chala sum santo khibdo almaina akoigi art education ju yamna darkar le na khale semna je hagi gi ba akoigi art institute se akoi manipur da ama khatang le habde institute amasida how many topic can focus anta khanbi akoi pai ngamoy hai tare ko akoi ge mioi ba ma koksina egi dance tawrina isagi dance egi as a choreographer adubo aina tawningba mayam dilai but I could not hai tare ko kaigino di aigi ju dance world haris the am thina chawre hariba aduna atopa aina sculpture or writing or moi haibidi knowledge kharabudi lai but nasagi loina bakti khamang namaktaba haibda agigi matamje because our life is so short hai tare ko akoi tambagi loiba nai dabanina akoi singbagi posijulai aduna aina ngasai school dagi horaga sumai sumlapadagi akoina art akoigi so mature of matamda akoina art education jida appreciation class haibdi mi artist amagi magun haitar magi norm haitar I as a dancer amaga theater amaga as a writer amaga as a painter amaga magi practice khenare haitar kaigino di magi matam khenare adudagi magi adugi mayamji akoina akoigi peaceful art ama tauge haragadi ngasagi mi amana mi amagi khambi base si yam darkale na khale as a kino ama oin aduna aina hajane badi ngasagi education jida art ngasagi akoina art tawraga ngasagi norm haitare atopagi practice na kamain tawbano adudagi sigi khangdaba mayam jina haitare even aigi hajarapda dance kida akoina khangdaba mayam lairi administration gida ko akoina dance kida just stage khakta jagoi sabdu natte akoina festival ama torapa matamda akoi how to network kamaina build up torakani adudagi kanagino haiba hangakani why we are performing haiba hangakani si mayam ji education ena law aduna nasagi poto atopa art field gisu akoina understand tawge haragadi akoina art akoigi school degi horaga akoigi sumba ngasagi macha thingjangi mayam do open up torapasine maikai khara yengapasine law sigi minute yamdi chawre minute manga khata pibani na is side tension jar.
Thank you so much, Sujit. I think I missed out to give a little bit a short introduction about you. So let me just add to it right now. Surjit Nongmakaplam is actually an award-winning choreographer for his piece Nerves and Folktale. I don't know if they're available in YouTube, but you should all check them out. They are a fabulous piece of artwork, and currently he is the artistic director of Natum Arts Foundation. So that was from Dasujit talking about the need to kind of give a to go beyond what is taught in our classrooms, and there is so many fields through which we can broaden our horizon. uh, so now let's go to our next panelist, Miss Dinah Rose Haubijam. I hope I said that correct. Um, so Dinah, after working in major art galleries in New Delhi, she also started her own venture called Bistro. And apart from all those, she also has done several educational workshops on social and emotional learning, art education, outdoor learning spaces for children with help of volunteers from around the world. Currently, she works with Sunbird Trust as curriculum developer on art and creativity literacy in Singat in Manipur. Please, Ms. Diana, let's hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Shim, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Si Unibrow Studio na sumay na webinar di I will just mix up bilingually on Manipuri ga may tilon ga English ga mix tor ga nang direct ke thang iseng na may tilon da pula mo explain ta ubadi ay wanda katang wana to ka dawre aduna please bear with me. So I'm very happy that Unibrow Studio has invited me for this beautiful session and for a beautiful topic that we really really need at this hour in terms of educating our own societies. So I very much agree with what Da Surjit has said, that we need to bring in more avenues for learning arts, and also more scope to understand arts as a subject, as a bigger subject, not only as one form of or not only as a specified subject, just as dancing or drawing or anything else. um, so first of all, before going to the topic, I would just like to give my own understanding of what art is. I believe art is not only a subject but also a language that we use in our day-to-day lives to communicate with each other, and it definitely has wider applications in life, because art does not actually give us only the artistic understanding or the artistic knowledge of the subject, but also it gives meaning to our own individual lives, where we can relate with our environment, where we can understand our tradition and culture better, where we can understand and develop interpersonal relationships, etc. So art, for me, I truly and honestly believe that it has much wider application than just as a subject that we put in our syllabus. Um, and now narrowing down to the topic of why Manipur, being a very rich, culturally rich state, and why we don't see the appreciation of art in many levels. I feel personally that we all acknowledge that we had art as a subject in our syllabus when we were in high school, etc. But it was always restricted to learning only a particular form of art within that syllabus. For example, ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯉꯥꯡ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯤꯉꯩꯗ ꯁ꯭ꯀꯨꯜꯗ art ꯍꯥꯏꯅ subject period ꯑꯃ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯅ ꯂꯩꯔꯛꯄꯗꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯗ art ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯆꯥꯎꯅ vast ꯑꯣꯏꯕ subject ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯇꯥꯛꯄꯤꯔꯛꯄ ꯇꯝꯕꯤꯔꯛꯄꯁꯦ ꯈꯔ restricted ꯑꯣꯏꯈꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯅꯤꯡꯉꯦ, ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ art subject ꯇꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ, period ꯇꯤ art ꯀꯤ period ꯍꯥꯏꯕ, ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯇꯥꯛꯄꯤꯕꯗꯤ ꯂꯥꯏꯔꯤꯛ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯕꯗꯤ drawing ꯈꯛ ꯁꯤꯖꯤꯟꯅꯕ. ꯑꯗꯨꯅ if when we restrict the whole bigger subject, big subject into just a branch, then it limits the understanding of the holistic, it limits the holistic understanding of the subject itself. Aduna, maybe because of this reason, we are not being able to develop our artistic meaning for ourselves, that I am not able to understand myself on individual levels. For example, emotion khangak taba, adagi aigi culture bu appreciate tawba ngamak taba, kanagumba magi ahaiba talent abhaba creativity or adugumba creative work ko aikoina appreciate tawba ngamak taba, asigumba limitations singsi aikoina art subject ne ama achauba subject ne haina khalaga drawing oina takpirakibagi adugumba reason ne haina soina thamjaninge. And moreover, going to what, because we don't have much time, I'm just breaking down the topic and coming down to the second part of the topic, which is what are the steps, what are some possible steps that we can take in order to better the understanding of art as a subject, as a part of a curriculum in school systems or education system. Coming to that point, I would like to highlight what I have been doing as a curriculum developer for art and creativity literacy curriculum in Singat. So I basically work in a very remote area where, I would just like to say that Manipur is a state of challenges. We have challenges of different kinds and different sorts. Education is also a biggest challenge. And when it comes to this challenge, quality education is something that is far-fetched. The quality education because we do not even have proper access to education. Aduna Shigumba, art also, like teaching art also needs innovation. It also needs creativity in order to make its fullest meaning absorbed by the learners. Aduna, aina hojik thabak tawzariba maphamsidadi yamna su remote oibanina quality education adagi innovative way of teaching learning asigumbasi like thokradana angang sing bu school la phajana puraga basic foundational numeracy literacy asigumba phangan babo yamna waba mafam mo oibagi ko aikoina sumaina tawdana curriculum si pusalakpada kamaina sigi underprivileged students who do not have who are not even accessible to basic infrastructure of education. How do we bring innovation and creativity and understanding of art in such context? Masi khanma matamda we decided that we need to do something, but we really didn't know where to start. So we tried to incorporate and integrate visual literacy, not like integrating art like that, or not specifying into art learning like that, but we integrated a curriculum called visual literacy, where we try to access whatever infrastructure is available to us as a medium of learning. For example, Bala is read as building as learning aids. So when we use the building infrastructure with visual elements taken out from any subject matter, for example, maths ta yauba kay formula ma natraga ko science ta yauba diagram ma karigumba classroom sida phazana yekthok pirakanda visual element oina aingonda karigumba angang sing da karigumba visual element sibu interpret tawba ngambagi capacity adugumba develop tawba ngamagadi haina ikuna hauzik pilot kana tawzari using Bala and visual literacy as a model for our students in Singan. So the basic idea of visual literacy is nothing but it's an extension to the meaning of generic literacy. Reading, writing ko asigi skill set sibu kitang enhance to biba kara henna phagathan biba. For example, bringing visual elements, like I said before, visual elements and making the children or a child or a learner to be able to see. Aduna nga sagi extension na haisa bagi maram ding sagi reading, writing, speaking sigi mathakta ay visual mode of learning by viewing. Mit na uraga interpretation puthokpa ngamba sige critical thinking, creative thinking, adugi artistic ability dugi mathakta creative ability ma hapchandiba aduga makoina uriba possible interpret tawhanba matamda makoida certain skills and developments thokpa yai angang singda in that formal stage of education. So we're trying our best to bring in certain changes that can be incorporated in the classroom level, where we maneuver different modes of teaching techniques, different modes of giving the sources of learning to the students. Adu adumaina tawdana karigumba even in all the schools, any type of school, government, private schools, if we can revisit whatever curriculum that we already have, whatever policies that we have, not only by building up institutions, and in fact we have very less art institutes in Manipur. That's not enough, definitely. But what if we use the resources that are already available here? For example, all the schools, if they can form up new policies, if they can revisit their own practice, pedagogical practice, etc., and incorporate new methods of teaching and learning for the student community, I think art can be then understood in better ways, and also going a little apart away from understanding art as just drawing, and teaching different modes of arts or different forms of arts, which includes films, which includes music, dance, performance, etc., that would broaden up the scope of learning for students. And that is the importance of art education, because when we give the skill sets to understand different forms of arts as a subject, then it enables a child to develop and promote their creative ability and artistic ability in understanding and create meaning of their own surrounding, not beyond the syllabus matter. So this is what I would like to keep from my side. I hope I didn't cross 5 minutes.
I think it was fine, and I think we might want to know more about Bala later on. For now, let's go to Mathani Hunyo, who is the poster, the golden child of grassroots education. So Mathani is the director of RREA, a non-profit organization based in Imphal and founder of Teach for Northeast. He launched Teach for Northeast with the dream that every child of the region has access to a quality education and a safe space to grow. And his interest area has been education, public health, livelihood, sports, farming, sustainable development, and indigenous community knowledge. And I can't wait what the Mathani has for us.
Thank you, Unibrow Studio. Thank you, Ishi, and so nice to hear from Surjit and Diana for bringing this conversation. And thank you everyone for joining in. When Sim had sent me the invite for this, I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure whether I can come or not, right? Because I was feeling a little bit scared also that this is something which is not in my domain in the sense that I'm not an expert in it, and there are far more better people who can speak on this. But today I will just be sharing a little bit about the experiences that is there with our children and how we also grew up as children, and then what is the current realities, and also looking at the possibilities that where we can move forward, right? So one thing that I have consistently again and again thought to myself, as well as tried to discuss with our peers and our team, is about how do we bring art in education, right? So in one reality is that we are not able to provide teachers to teach ABC, right? We are not able to provide the teachers to teach them maths, basic and numeracy. And then one way, again, the teachers that are already there in our schools that we're working in here, they are already overburdened, right? So when we start having this discussion about what about art, right? How do we use it? So there's this question about then how do we build the capacities of our teachers? So many things are missing, right? In terms of infrastructure, in terms of resource, in terms of capacity, in terms of the people who are there, right? So this has been one of our most challenging, even for us as an organization or us as we were growing up, one of the most challenging aspect of education as such. I remember growing up in a boys' school for eight long years in a boys' school, and then not understanding what is art, and then in my future years not able to express properly or more creatively, right? So we always say that I always tend to say that I'm not creative at all, and I don't know all of these creative things which are being done is something which I cannot even comprehend, right? But as we look, we have so many people around us, so many of our friends were so artistic, they were so talented, right? So one thing as we look back, I think it was just that we were never given the space. So I was in Goa last February for there's an organization called Bookworm, right? So there we were just given this opportunity to express as well as feel art, right, inside the library. And then I think that was one of the most peaceful 1 hour of my life. And I wish that when we were growing up, when we were going through all these challenges that we are, especially in the context of our state, I believe that if those opportunities were given to us at least even once a month, I think that would have done a lot more to our hormones as well, right? How we were growing up. So yes, that space, I think even that conversation about space is not coming up, which is very important. And I think from here, this should not be this should not be the end, but should be the start, that we start these conversations in every schools. Right?
Do I need to turn off this one?
Huh?
Off.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. It happens. So yeah. So even in our schools that we are looking at, the places where we're working, many of our students are very artistic, right? For many who doesn't speak in the class, they express things very differently in a book club example, right? Or when there's a storytelling, they express it very differently. Or even in the handicrafts and the craft that is done, they express it very beautifully, right? And then again, in most cases, they are someone who doesn't express in the classroom, right? And many at times we feel that those who doesn't express properly in the classroom, they they are not able to comprehend, right? But which again outside the classroom we see that they have much better life skills than most of children inside the classroom. So so many things which we see, I think, which we can integrate, and then I think Diana and Surjit will have much better knowledge on this. But from my experience, I believe that art again will play a huge role for our children, especially in the context of Manipur when we talk about social emotional learning, right? We don't have any space to even have this conversation about social emotional learning, right? Example, I knew that I was having PTSD only when I was in my master's. So looking back at the last 20 years of my life, how impulsive I was, right? How my personality was, right? And then how I want things to be done. So everything looking back, I realized that I was having PTSD, right? And then suddenly, after realizing that, I started seeking out for what are the forms that where I can express myself and where I can also delve in a little bit so that I can control many things, right? So I think likewise, many of our children are not having this space, and which we need space. So I think this is something which we really have to start looking at, and then the possibility at how far it can go, right? So I'm looking at 3-4 questions. Example, if we start this conversation in our schools, right? So how do we build the capacities of our teachers or people who is there to take up this, right? Because it becomes very important. If our teachers also, their capacities are not being built, it becomes very for a start, I mean, whether it's a formal or informal art, for a start, it becomes very intimidating, right? And just if even for me also, just the word art, I take a back step, right? So how do we build the capacities of our educators and teachers first, and then again, once we do that, how do we make the uh, uh, engagement very sustainable, right? Because many a times what we have seen is also that we start something and then we just end it in one go, right? And it is not sustainable. It doesn't sustain, and the movement or the whole action becomes redundant, right? Because suddenly we come in, we start doing that, and then we stop, and there's no sustainable engagement. So I think that becomes very crucial. And then one example which we are doing in our schools is that we have already collaborated with the University of Edinburgh, and then right now we are working on, like Diana was saying, we are working on visual literacy on climate change, right? So we are working on that how do we bring the whole idea about climate change inside our classrooms through visual arts, right? So right now it's currently almost done. By October, we are planning to launch it in our schools with the University of Edinburgh, and then after that, we're also planning to do this, engage with other organizations, which Diana and both of us can also talk more on this, that to each and every one of our children, how do we start with small things which they can relate, as well as afterwards take it forward, right? From where we can start, right? So from my side, that is it a little bit. I don't know much about it, but the little experiences that I have and the little things that we are doing, as well as towards a vision that one day we want art in education, is what I want to focus. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mathan. I am very curious to know the collaboration with the University of Edinburgh. We will get to know more about it later on. For now, let's go to Oja Dinesh. Oja Dinesh is working as an associate professor at DM College of Teacher Education, and he is extending his service to NCERT for curriculum development, pedagogical design, and evaluation. I cannot wait to hear what Ujadin has to share with us. 1 minute, I think. Can you please unmute?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, thanks to all the panelists who have already spoken. A lot of the very interesting ideas regarding art educations related to their expertise in different areas. Adam yamna tien matamina, that is the 5 minutes ki matamjida thengnagadoriba saruk sei hapet harake mamangi yamna respected panelists sing Surjit Daina Mathani yam bhajana ngangre aduna akoina sigi matangda aigi oiba expertise di laiba nate adugu as a participant amo oina haitare seisida aina kitang haining mase this art education is right now very important se kaino ha kanda akoina hana manipur gi context le ramba kanda di koina leiriba education ki system jiga art siga ani si tokhai pe stream oina loram art inanga sa habi ki mamang da lai pani khangde art ki composite forms mam leiba sing na tongana leiraga school ki formal education sina tongana segregate tawra leira aduna nga sa ki formal school education ne mayam na lawriba koi gi certificate tawra kanda angangi tammi ba saruk sing sina hena gravity fee ra kanda nga sa ki art form sina tokhai na leiba sinani koina nga sa ki magi disjointed oira kanda school gi learning process and pedagogy siga art siga ani si samjanadana kada no missing lingam leise but now yamna tienma matam dina I just kept my clock here in front of me adana here I matang sida yam 10 hiding up se mayam sing yamna young gun saitare you have a very energetic and multifaceted affiliations to many areas koina tawwe abasing gi marakta experience ketang share to kana housing akoina any India gi bus stream ma changjal lakpakanda international the satring ma the national stream magi test in the flavors khang ga ta di education gi maram da la ga ta national education policy se ko yam sang national education policy 2020 is akoina masi approved tawdana 2022 gi August ki 15 mamang the entire states of India as a masanagadam the prime ministers na lokhoki balai university bhawa magi ngasai ana sigi marak ama lakan sida koida ngasai amna sigi matang sida koi interpretation of art se hana leramba yamna narrow oiba pot oiraro sida yamna broad spectrum amadalani kaigino ha kanda India gi hojik NEP gi koina yengminaba matamda browse torga yengbiro and download torga yengbiro I basi yamna city convention da kari the different colleges levels da yamna high karbanya isam salakanda ada mugida adum yawuni page number 55 ti yenkanda India gi weriba magi lady se huji art ina koina ngasai lai pa natraga jagoi gi kala ge na leram se loi tok thok rakanda art ki magi form se loi changthala kanda India gi huji lady sing se kari lege ha kanda koina 30 koina 60 koina more than 64 kalas ena leire kala sing je angkasu kalani adagi larik tambiba tapiba gi mong lai jagoi sa khudimak sing se magi wa approach the loin chakrakani ma segregate tawre han ge art forms in lore in ye aduma muk lai re ko aduga muk quite again important lai is still we are working very hardly koi haloisla su moina mai sagi basic wa magi foundation si tawnu honra matamda art ki sruk se krai de yorka de ha kan am trust lai ne khalle sigi se koina unibron na tawre se dum patang sai khalle kai no ha kan husiki no ba school gi education si lang matamda mai ngasagi hana leramba magi school gi system se loi thugai ra kan da muti koina 5 + 3 3 4 la ka dori ni 5 se koina sahi ahum dagi laik tam bi khor ka dori ni ndona manga booking ngasagi bema sagi dainana hai gi magi foundational literacy and the numeracy gi matam se di angang sing se koida symbolic learning tor ka doi ni matun gi sina hengi mathang gi platform ma da tawre si khara wa ka college level gi sin angangi level sida di huziki magi symbolic learning torko kanse di kari ha kanda koi gi lairibo oza sing se oza takpi doribo oza sing atuka magi taga doribo angang sing se ani gi marak sida gap am chauna thogle huzik kai na kanda oza sing sina oza ji angangi level la ko kanda di magi formal structure da mana tambirakwa do's and the don'ts me am se loi pusala kanda angang cha kam khangriba angang ji sorni hai ni adu masing dugi marakta sang kan mana mangonda compulsion me am pirak kan sa angang su ki matik moida abstraction tawraga dum lair concrete tawngam sigi matang sin lakum matam da koina art education is very much necessary way kari no si matang se telam na haira ge minute am litre ko kari no kan da koida angang gi hana magi lyrics si tambi wa hodringai mamang si yan hana da ka lis ke na kan akoigi society amada angang se ma masamak se mi ama oiba aduga magi marum mapang lei magi care to winable lay masi freedom oina freedom phangakanda sanaba wari saba taba magi should right lays hana kangan bam change like sa tamba hotri mama that is he must be a privileged person more adugi matam du yorakanda ne koine sai like tambi ba matam da koine magi ai direct la age ko koina angangi like tambi ba horko matam da karina howi symbolic learning je horko matam da di koine rhyme sam sine storytelling sine activity oriented khuding mak sine kari da wi scenery no ai huji amakak work tawri amakak am kana work tawri ai hide roi huji ta thok tremna but it will be produced soon from the ministry the tholok pai ko yam thuna ado high rising je moi telecast tawni ka haibi ado kari gi non ha kan da khoina larik tambi ba kan sida angang gi saruk se tambi matam da khoina angang gi developmental stage se khara da khoini yumphom mo angang se like tambi ba chawgi na tab si matang sa this sigi art se so ki matik maru oigre maru oi bai se kaino mana platform mo oitoram kaino angang gi development si koina nei na ba han angang gi development si thorok se kdai ha kan da language development and hanawe se koina Laura Bergen am power nu bi ma child development iba all renowned psychologist ni magi da dum yaw le rabani me se koina si curriculum developer sing pedagogue sing na adum sin ab expertise sing na sin matam aduna language development haibama social development haibama adagi physical development haibama fine motor development haibama adagi koina cognitive development haibama developmental stage in mathang lakpa kansida gyan hanbagi language development haiba senga saibema dainana su haiba da khradi yaukibani language development si lakma tamde angang singa se karamba mawong da magi language se fully developed on kadage se koina kone hari matam sida koina rhyme storytelling sine rhyme hairagadi kari tawragi haikanda ngasai art se yawda yadre magi art aesthetic sense body movement rhythms magi articulations haitare loina mak haksangi thekpa nova aduga facial smiling face oiba adagi mingon da karmaini yingni khut karmaina haini haksangi sathe karmain tawni aise ngasai gi loina mak rhyme gi word se da hapa kanda tawrakaneba aduna word se koida khara restricted consonants and the vowels and khara lay sidadi am tele ko aduna angang sing je koina thengnarom gani han koigi chaura aba matam mature kanda even renowned person khara bhawa wanga matam da maron su da kudamaina koina horse manipuri da sagol haibse sangon gaine hek pawa adagi naga laga onaba ese haiba hita na mari phara hek leibugum basingse angangi ngasagi foundational level da language development gi han haiba primary stage gi han learning gi language development se mapung phana tawrak ta baine sigum angang sing ase han language development tawna ba khone rhyme sine activity happy rhyme se khonjel khatane ade angang sing ni sa heavy gi duni ma di yamna static sense sama yawra kanda play way method ta tawgi haitaradi khone harau hangani play way haraga koina kaino hakanda sanaba khakta nate sanabagi wana te koina leiriba play way sidi karino hakanda koina play way gi definition se kana pirongge hakanda koina valentine sand bell koina valentine's day gi valentine's nata valentine's in psychology samle mana hairam bamle play way se kermain tawi si matang de ni amna art da ka lai na kanjari jai di amna art ki maram da ayo minate ado appreciate am tawjo ana kaino hakanda angang da loina ba matam da nang na takpi ba boiro tambi ba boiro sei sakpa boiro matam da angang sina magi sense of amusement je feel tawr then your method of teaching will be called playway method playway method se ko amna sense of amusement pi da angang se puning makala adu itade adugum badu pi na bhona matam da koina rhyme gi saruk sing ji tor matam da magi restricted consonants ma'am le vowel sing sigi matak da adugi word sing da hapchal laganda koina rhyme se present tor kon art ki form se suki matik darkar le ana hairiba sing se sinar kanda angang sing si tawi aduga language se develop tawroba matungda ekoina ngasagi fine motor development haidana samlap nai hairage am sangre ko magi se aduna fine motor development se koina mit ka khut ka ani ki coordination se art ki form sina angang na layek pa ngamdoriba board te ojane irega mai boy de sinma ngamjadoriba khuding mak sing se artistic design amada fine motor coordination tawre ini ko ne layek pa khatana te ana mit ka khut ka ani sana na bo ko narak matam da ko ni gitu mana language hanariba aduga si da chumna sekai ba tambiri bu khuding mak singse si loina mak phai motor coordinations ne sigi matang da koina se khudam moina angang na yam to sak param twinkle twinkle little stars e koina we know nothing when we are in the learning period like kan kanam khangde sei boi dum ning ada mana mit sina khutta yeng kanda khut sida smaini yeng kanda khut ki khucha sina fingers sina tip sina haira kanda mit sina yeng khudum bi thilisi khut ki khucha sigi movement se akoina ngasai ai gi saruk sina yeng bane na lawe na hairi ba saruk sing se akoida yamna tien gre na khale ana matam se loira abnina haitare ai mathangi section da oina sang na haira ge aduna art education no doubt is very important to all organic khale matam je loiram do male na koi matam se am tele ko it is only 15 minutes to the business time lere ai anana simatang da sam sang na leningai legre ado yamna 10 gre do side stop to ge do second round da lake yam sangre it's too long it is a very beginning journey and we have just now how to set our mission but we are not starting yet to the mission okay thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Dinesh. Definitely, we would love to hear more about the new education policy and how it's going to be implemented, especially in the last mile regions where Mathani is already an expert. But now the floor is open for panel discussion. If any of the panel wants to, bring in any other perspective or views, we're open.
Okay, so I will go first, then I can listen to others. So it was yam nungaire ozana oza Dinesh Daina adudagi Mathamina habigibe yam nungaire aduga aina jona haijagiba aidi sumba akoigi academical oina haitareko angang ba sumba da focus lektaba akoina practice as a choreographer as artist amo oina akoigi archida akoigi haitare akoigi indigenous practice po oire adudagi akoigi ecological system adudagi society gi sigi posida ayamba choreography gi base da lapane adubo aida sum aigi jo share kitang tawjage akoigi samnaraga akoi education je ngasai kamaina akoigi ken sokol hangadagi habijini ko aina sum focus sum tawjadingi ngasagi angang akoigi ken oza hoi mayam jo habigi akoigi angang je akoina aina physical do in hajara ge akoina ken aigi physical da lebrina akoigi angang je akoina akoi school amada aina ga sum ujara matamda akoi moja angang ga je larikta habdi larik pa ba pose yamna tohonde moida kaina angang yam nauri buse moida toholi je akoigi yamna sana khona ba forest chatpa adudagi di mayam moiga adudagi kaya haitare mamana bagaiga wari sana hanba just talk haitare ko adumaina toraga akoigi maron akoigi mayumda leragadi ngasagi wa ngang thoktabagi awaba mayam lerabado mamana ba topa adudagi unarapa matamda magi ngasagi sharing haitare ko almain topde wari sana bagi tanja aduju phangbagi tanja ma lebs sumba education akoigi aina sum ujabda akoigi manipur gi angangai aina ayuk pung mangi manga daga chapa yawi school je bag alumbaga tawraga yam yemda yam wa ba haitar aina habdi nungai jada ba haitar angang dugi magi sanaga daba matam aduri mana tunga daba matam adudagi magi sungba matam je mangan garga akoina ladik kini hairaga akoina kg mari manga yam lumme mogi bags aina sum ge yemuda yamna back pain magi physical da dudagi sumba je la kadaba sungba mayam ju yamna aina sum education gi keno dabudi laitre but as a keno ama oina as a simple man ama oina ordinary man ama oina sum yengjabu matamda sungba pose akoina kamaina art education je akoina habdi ngasagi akoina aina hambada hajagi akoi phulokpi sanaba chakthongbi sanaba adudagi di akoi u ka ba sanaba adudagi wari libi sanaba ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁꯤꯡꯖꯨ ꯆꯥꯅꯕ ꯁꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕꯁꯤ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯗꯔꯀꯥꯔ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯅ ꯈꯜꯂꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯦꯁ ꯑꯦ ꯐꯤꯖꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯑꯃ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯀꯥꯟ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯈꯩꯅ ꯅꯥꯔꯛꯏꯕ ꯃꯔꯝꯁꯤꯁꯨ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯆꯥꯎꯅ ꯗꯤꯄꯦꯟ ꯂꯩꯕ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯈꯜꯂꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯏꯃ꯭ꯌꯨꯟ ꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯝ ꯁꯣꯟꯊꯔꯛꯄ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗꯤ ꯃꯣꯠꯀꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤꯗꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯇꯧꯒꯅꯤ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯁ꯭ꯀꯨꯜꯗ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯈꯨꯖꯤꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯖꯤꯅꯤꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯈ꯭ꯔꯒ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯋꯦꯁꯇꯔꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯒꯗ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯑꯇꯣꯝꯂꯣꯝꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯆꯠꯈ꯭ꯔꯒ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯥꯔꯠ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯖꯤꯅꯁ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯛꯇꯤꯁꯇꯨꯗꯤ ꯋꯥꯠꯍꯧꯔꯕ ꯁꯤꯍꯧꯔꯕ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯥꯔꯠ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯖꯤꯅꯁ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯛꯇꯤꯁꯁꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯃꯔꯨꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯗꯤ ꯍꯛꯆꯥꯡ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯚꯥꯏꯔꯟꯃꯦꯟꯁꯤꯒ ꯆꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯄꯣꯠ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯗꯣ ꯂꯣꯏ ꯃꯥꯡꯈ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯅꯥꯔꯛꯄꯒꯤ ꯆꯥꯟꯁꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯋꯥꯡꯉꯛꯄ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯀꯥ ꯑꯃꯗ ꯂꯩꯁꯤꯜꯂꯛꯄꯒꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯨꯝꯃꯛꯇꯕꯒꯤ ꯑꯗ ꯐꯤꯖꯤꯀꯦꯜꯂꯤ ꯁꯥꯟꯅꯔꯛꯇꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯕ꯭ꯔꯦꯟ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤꯗꯁꯨ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯗꯥꯏꯅꯥ ꯍꯣꯏꯅꯒ ꯃꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯥꯔꯠꯁꯤ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯄꯨꯁꯤꯜꯂꯛꯀꯗꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯨꯅꯤ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯖꯅꯤꯡꯉꯤꯁꯦ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯄꯣꯠꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯥꯔꯠꯁꯦ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗꯨꯗ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯑꯣꯏꯍꯟꯗꯕꯤꯗ ꯃꯥꯒꯤ ꯐꯤꯖꯤꯀꯦꯜꯗꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯏꯚꯟ ꯁꯤꯝꯕꯣꯂꯤꯀꯦꯜ ꯑꯣꯔ ꯔꯥꯏꯝ ꯁꯨꯝꯕꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯅ ꯐꯣꯀꯁ ꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯍꯜꯂꯒ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯃꯊꯧ ꯇꯥꯏꯅ ꯈꯜꯂꯦ ꯑꯦꯠ ꯁꯦꯝ ꯇꯥꯏꯝ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯀꯨꯜ ꯑꯃꯗ ꯁꯨꯝ ꯐꯥꯟꯗ ꯐꯝꯍꯟꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯇꯦꯛ ꯑꯔꯥꯎꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯃꯃꯤꯠ ꯃꯅꯥ ꯁꯤꯡꯅꯕ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯁꯇꯕꯨ ꯆꯠꯍꯟꯕ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯁꯨ ꯊꯦꯡꯅꯔꯝꯃꯅꯤ ꯏꯟꯖꯥꯡ ꯅꯥꯄꯤ ꯊꯥꯕꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯁꯨꯝꯕꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯍꯧꯔꯛꯄꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯁꯦꯡꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯑꯩꯁꯨ ꯃꯉꯥꯏꯔꯦ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯁꯦ ꯂꯥꯏꯔꯤꯛ ꯇꯝꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯋꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯒꯣꯠ ꯑꯣꯜ ꯑꯋꯥꯔ ꯍꯣꯝ ꯗ꯭ꯌꯨꯇꯤꯁ ꯀꯣ ꯌꯨꯝꯒꯤ ꯋꯥꯏ ꯁꯤꯠꯂꯛꯇ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯆꯥꯛ ꯊꯣꯡꯕ ꯍꯩꯖꯤꯜꯂꯛꯇ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯂꯧ ꯁꯤꯡꯎꯕ ꯍꯩꯖꯤꯜꯂꯛꯇ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯄꯣꯠꯁꯦ ꯀꯔꯝꯕ ꯂꯝꯒꯤꯅꯣ ꯍꯪꯉꯛꯀꯗꯣꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯖꯄꯥꯟꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯑꯣꯖꯥꯅꯒ ꯍꯥꯏꯈꯤꯕ ꯑꯃ ꯇꯥꯏ ꯃꯐꯝ ꯃꯐꯝꯒꯤ ꯆꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯦꯁ ꯔꯤꯃꯣꯠ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯗ ꯑꯃ ꯆꯠꯂꯒꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯁꯥꯏ ꯏꯝꯐꯥꯜꯗ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯝ ꯑꯣꯐ ꯏꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟꯁꯦ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯄꯥꯜꯂꯨꯕ ꯌꯥꯗꯦ ꯃꯔꯝꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯔꯤꯃꯣꯠ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯗ ꯆꯠꯂꯒ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯗꯨꯒ ꯆꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯃꯁꯨ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯏ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯧꯎ ꯁꯤꯡꯎꯕꯒꯤ ꯃꯐꯝꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯏꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯝꯅꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯀꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯀꯝꯄ꯭ꯌꯨꯇꯔ ꯑꯃ ꯄꯤꯁꯜꯂꯒ ꯐꯝꯍꯟꯕꯗꯨ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯖꯤꯅꯁ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯛꯇꯤꯁ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯧꯗꯣ ꯀꯅꯥꯅ ꯁꯤꯡꯉꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯂꯧꯗꯣ ꯀꯅꯥꯅ ꯂꯣꯏꯔꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯀꯣꯏꯁꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯂꯥꯛꯑꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯋꯥꯠꯄ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯂꯧ ꯌꯣꯟꯊꯣꯛꯑꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯊꯕꯛ ꯇꯧꯅꯤꯡꯉꯥꯏ ꯑꯗꯨꯝꯕ ꯊꯤꯔꯛꯄꯒꯤ ꯑꯁꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯂꯦꯟꯁꯀꯦꯞ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯃꯁꯨ ꯃꯥꯡꯖꯜꯂꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯁꯨꯝꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯗꯣꯛꯇꯔ ꯏꯟꯖꯤꯅꯤꯌꯥꯔ ꯁꯔꯁ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕꯗ ꯐꯣꯀꯁ ꯑꯣꯏ ꯂꯩꯔꯒ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯐꯥꯔꯃꯔ ꯑꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯥꯔꯀꯤꯇꯦꯛꯆꯔ ꯑꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯁ ꯁꯨꯝꯕ ꯗꯤꯄꯥꯔꯠꯃꯦꯟ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯩ ꯃꯁꯤꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯤꯉꯩꯗ ꯃꯉꯥꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯄꯤꯍꯧꯗꯕꯒꯤꯅꯦꯅ ꯈꯜꯂꯤ ꯀꯩꯒꯤꯅꯣꯗꯤ ꯑꯦꯚ꯭ꯔꯤ ꯁ꯭ꯀꯨꯜꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛꯁꯦ ꯅꯪ ꯂꯥꯏꯔꯤꯛ ꯀꯟꯅ ꯇꯝꯃꯨ ꯊꯕꯛ ꯑꯆꯧꯕ ꯑꯃ ꯇꯧ ꯑꯣꯐꯤꯁꯥꯔ ꯑꯣꯏꯅꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦꯕ ꯗꯦ ꯅꯦꯚꯔ ꯁꯦ ꯑꯕꯥꯎꯠ ꯅꯪ ꯐꯥꯔꯃꯔ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯣꯏꯌꯨ ꯐꯣꯔꯦꯁꯀꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯣꯏꯌꯨ ꯐꯤꯁꯔꯃꯦꯟ ꯑꯣꯏꯌꯨ ꯁꯨꯝꯕꯁꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯛꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯑꯦꯟ ꯗꯦ ꯅꯦꯚꯔ ꯏꯟꯀꯔꯦꯖ ꯗꯤꯁ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕꯁꯦ ꯑꯥꯔꯠ ꯐꯣꯝꯁꯤꯗ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯃꯐꯝꯗꯨꯒ ꯆꯥꯟꯅꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯏꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯝꯁꯤꯗ ꯄꯣꯔꯛꯅꯕꯁꯨ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯥꯔꯤꯀꯨꯂꯝ ꯁꯦꯝꯕꯤꯔꯤꯕ ꯑꯣꯖꯥꯍꯣꯏ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤꯗ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯁꯨꯝꯕꯁꯤꯁꯨ ꯁꯨꯝ ꯑꯩꯒꯤ ꯁꯥꯏꯠꯇꯒꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯁꯨꯝ ꯍꯥꯏꯖꯅꯤꯡꯉꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯆꯦꯟꯖꯦꯁ ꯄꯣꯔꯛꯀꯗꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯒ ꯂꯨꯔꯤꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗꯨꯁꯨ ꯈꯛꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗ ꯇꯥꯛꯑꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯃꯃꯥ ꯃꯄꯥꯗꯨꯅ ꯁꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯁ ꯇꯧꯔꯛꯑꯒꯗꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗ ꯇꯥꯛꯏ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯃꯃꯥ ꯃꯄꯥ ꯀꯤꯕꯅꯤꯅ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯃꯥꯡꯉꯛꯀꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯑꯥꯔꯠ ꯏꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟꯁꯦ ꯅꯣꯠ ꯑꯣꯟꯂꯤ ꯅꯦꯁꯦꯁꯔꯤ ꯑꯣꯟ ꯗ ꯁ꯭ꯀꯨꯜ ꯕꯠ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯑꯇꯣꯞꯄ ꯄꯦꯔꯦꯟꯁ ꯈꯩꯁꯤꯗ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯉꯝꯒꯗꯒꯦ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯒꯗꯒꯦ ꯁꯤꯁꯨ ꯐꯣꯀꯁ ꯑꯃ ꯇꯥꯏ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯉꯥꯡꯗꯨꯅ ꯍꯩꯔꯨꯔꯦꯒ ꯁꯝꯅ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯕꯨꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯥ ꯍꯣꯏꯅ ꯉꯥꯡꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦ ꯑꯉꯥꯡ ꯑꯍꯟꯗ ꯍꯩꯄꯥ ꯁꯥꯖꯤꯜꯂꯛꯑꯅꯨ ꯈꯤꯇꯪ ꯆꯨꯝꯊꯣꯛꯎꯕꯗꯀꯣ ꯅꯃꯥ ꯅꯄꯥ ꯉꯝꯕ ꯀꯥꯏꯅ ꯍꯦꯛꯇ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯛꯀꯗꯣꯏꯅꯦꯕ ꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯄꯣꯠꯁꯦ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯄꯦꯔꯦꯟꯁ ꯈꯩꯁꯤꯁꯨ ꯃꯣꯏꯁꯨ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯥꯔꯠ ꯑꯦꯗꯨꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯑꯦꯔꯤꯌꯥꯁꯤꯗ ꯀꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯄꯨꯁꯤꯜꯂꯛꯄ ꯌꯥꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤꯁꯨ ꯈꯟꯅꯕ ꯄꯥꯝꯃꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯣꯀꯦ ꯗꯦꯠꯁ ꯏꯠ
The house is open. Any panelists may argue with Dasujit if they have any counter questions or well, I really appreciate that what you're bringing in, Sujit, about the need of art, not just in education system, but the fact that art is there in architecture, art is there in the way you farm also, art is everywhere. How it makes you conscious of your surrounding, how it makes you conscious of yourself and how it makes you realize things more and how it makes you more compassionate. I think that's a very important and very um, like you've hit it in the nail. Yeah. Uh, Dinah, would you like to add something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I very much appreciate and agree with that Surjit has said, and also very much agree with Oja Dinesh. I personally think that coming from Manipur as an underdeveloped, very poor state, we always had a very linear way of looking at education. Haidi like tam missing aside dar sujit na haidi budo farmer oyo hainadi like tam banate ba aduga nga tam na ba yen loy na ba dumay na di like tam bande ba ko mai passing na so like tam halise. I think most parents have this idea that I'm sending my kid to school so that they can get higher higher education in order to get a job at the end of their education. But adaiduda ngasai maru oise kaino haiba kanda ima ipa na so adugi paring da chatkiba haitare aikogi hayeng thabak phangaunaba aikogi isagi kaino mafam ama lehaunaba haina admaina khankiba adumaina khanbaduna ngasai school da lakpasida adudagi tunganba idea amada aikoibu larik takpibra haibasimu oidaba adusu chap manaba oikiba parents and teachers become as one aduga school da lakpa kanda su amuk oza singsu nang mag yam phangdaba yade homework matam chana piraktaba yade adom do oina chatkiba adagi mag phangdragana nang fail oigani haina discourage tawkiba adugumba education system da structure khara laikre hierarchy khara laikre aduna su aikoigi limitation mayam ama thamkra aikoina ngasagi lairik tambasi lairikti tamaga laishu yaudaba haina maitegi hainaba chanabida amashu lei laishu haise atayamato oiramdre ngasagi aikoina huziki oiba londa da hairgadi skill sets oiramme skill sets to become a lifelong learner to lead our lives adu oirame aduna ngasai karai da watlino haiba kanda parenting da su khara what pakra lay have the scope of understanding what education is meant for my child habasima parenting na katang amuk hanna revisit tawraga khanba ma makha tare mathau tare aduga oza sing gidana mu aisi oza tolop charaga ngang le takpiraga aigi thabak ama profession oina adumaina chatpidaba oza aikogi satra apik patakpa oza oiragadi ozagi rule si parents su oigadavane aduga satra dumaina angang su oigadavane so that the learning that a child in suppose class 2 or 3 enjoys adugi part to oza su phawbanga magadi ngasai artistic development do henna understand to bonga makani ba ngasai oza dinesh na haibi ki bedo child development that we have different levels of development in child that we focus and we study but we always skip out the artistic development in child artistic development already started when they kay hay tare makoy angang hek sound puthok pa magpa dagi ay ko na sound kay no ma hay bakan makoy na sound do graphs to ngamakanda AD any A for apple ni hanad may na connect to ba create to magpa so I think education has a lot of stake and all of us are in it, including parents, society, and the teachers. So we all need to revisit what type of education we always have dreamt of for ourselves and also for our children. Adu hygiene.
I'll go next. Isu may tilon krangang again, may tilon ngang nina. So yes, I think I think if we look at if we look at the country, India is an emerging economy, right? Emerging country, developing country. So again, what a low-income child in Bombay as well as Delhi have access to in terms of art or in terms of anything. Akoi Manipur la high income kids ka sumoi low income kids na hena yambusu lay ko in most of the time. Same ways, likewise in terms of Manipur also, again, the high income kids in Imphal or in Ukrul or in district headquarters, what they have, again, in terms of accessibility, in terms of opportunities, again, it becomes very different when we go to rural areas, right? So what I want to stress is that Manipur, as such, we have one of the highest unemployment, right? We have it is a very difficult place to stay in terms of livelihood. We don't have much example in the place where we work in Kamjong district to earn a livelihood of 200 rupees per day. It's a huge task, right? You don't get it every day, right? So when all of these things are going on, the priority aspiration of every parent as well as aspiration of almost every child becomes that I want to get a government job, right? That's why my children has to study, my kid has to study, and I have to study so that I don't have other distractions. And many a times, we as educators, we as parents, we as guardians, we as this thing feels that art is a distraction in many a times in the context of where we are, right? I'll be very honest with that. So when sigumba already, oh, ako'y si distraction oigrani, si like suda horen sigumba do ina ako'y si interest later chakradi angang si kaisu thoaroi, haibigi mindset si am lay. And ultimately, we cannot blame them also because it's how the geopolitical as the socio-economic situation of the state has led to, right? Hojikti akoi thabak phangdana laiba ise yam waraba mafamne Manipur gumase ko, and we don't have resources. Sidadi hojik ching the drug killer loliba ko tambak sula loliba huran chiti am tausi, it's all coming out from the aspirations that we have, no, and then there is no one to blame, but ultimately akoi kamai nusmai lakra haibsina. So when akoi art ki wari school le so akoi wari savanda when we introducing many concepts, right? When we are having parents teacher meeting, akoi tausi what most of the parents says is that we want our kids to get good academic grades, like mark pajan phanganinge koi class 10 11 12 mark college above the tamhaninge college above tamag moi government job phangadi, that will be our biggest aspiration, and which many of our bright students also have, right? So it's a challenge, I think, because again, when we look at different aspects of arts, some arts can be very expensive also, right? Example, when we are talking about painting, when we are talking about drawing, again, when you don't have access of one pencil, it's very hard to even imagine as well have that access, right? And so many other things. I'm just giving an example. Aduna akoi si revolve around tauraga yam lubanina akoi maksu yam challenging way ko. If we know how important it is, but we also know that the aspirations of our people whom we are working together with is very different from the aspirations that we have. So how do we balance this and bring it together? That is some way which we are looking at, and which I think the importance will also come up when we have all of these conversations, right? Because now a few of us are having a conversation here. We have to take it forward to the places where we come from, where we are coming from, right? And this has to continue. Before I was saying that the changes can be small, but it has to be sustainable, right? How long can we sustain it, right? So I think with that in mind, slowly one school can evolve. After that, 2 3 schools can evolve. One society can, one district can evolve, and then after that, it can evolve in many places. So that is what I wanted to put it out, that uh, let us strive for small but sustainable changes. And then I think this conversations has to continue day in day out, the places where we're even in our families, right? The hardest place always is with our families, right? So I think it is very important that the children that we are together with, the adults that we are together with, right? We have to start this conversation that art is important even in our day-to-day relationships, in our day-to-day social relationships, right? And then how do we take this as a medium to bring it in to education also, right? So yeah.
Very interesting to note how Dasurjit was also talking about the contextual learning, contextually educating, and how Mathani is also suggesting how do we incorporate all these things in a sustainable according to our context. So I think now will be a very good time to ask Oja Dinesh, because he already has an expertise of in this field. You know, Sir Dinesh, you wanna add something on this?
Very interesting way. Ado uzik loisalakpagi round akoina aina apilam khatang mayam da tongningi se ko society as a whole ngisai mamangi panelising hi gre hello
Taye sir.
okay aduna akoida uzik lairi se ya maru ri se kaino ai ngasa haijagibdo art itself se na to khain khaidok ta imbibe toroga art se hujikti education gi system ma koina changna na wona gada bani ngasai koina panelism so hai gre koina ngasai gi professional since koida lucrative form the profession se koi gi hanagi lairiba ka haitare colonial legacy ne koi doctor engineer civil servant sing na high strata of education koi gi society gi platform se kan bani masi yamna corrupt wall amagi mami duni taseng ni ta dribo ado I am tang clarify tawjage example piraga adu tawdam na taw say my eldest son is run out pursuing PhD in Delhi University. The second one mazi aina hai ngawande hona mechanical skill wa na workshop taw the workshop taw yes of course mana loira kan dai workshop taw ge now he is almost to complete the BTech in mechanical engineer and will do I think MTech or MBA. Then after we are planning to establish a servicing center near Impal, because we are now giving our trust to the entrepreneur, or how can we translate our learning or accumulating knowledge into actions. Ko yam maru nen kan ai di tawdorim ne adana harising si ngasai habi beduni akoida akoigi ozasing sigi su yam sauna magi baseline kada haitare gap makhak laye akoina karino ha kanda kana Howard Gardner ina yam phawa America gi psychologist sam khle huji magi theories ni loi lawrise akoina multiple theory of intelligence ina tabiramgani ana miu besing je poku matamda normal loiba children khudingmak sing se loina magi intelligence amom le akoina perception to matamda intelligence angka yam haiba science am haiba english am ngam like haibani mark am from slime like haibani salaba adu natte miu bagi magi akoina lairiba intelligence makal tarit ni man hai hojikti mapan sure dum yeng biu horen yeng kanda multiple theory of intelligence and Howard Gardner na haiba singse adai do dum yawbani mioi ba kharana pukthor porakpa matam the spatial thinking se na abstract thinking like bagi wakhan khan bagi laigani art education gi laigani arithmetic skill laigani adagi physical skill laigani smai tawdana mi tinabagi haibagi skill laini the interpersonal skill laini kaina skill am lai ai samjalage high skill sing se angang sing sigi saruk sing sida yauriba intelligence identify tawra matungda aikoina magi chanaba profession se nurture tawra kanda angang sing se heng apung phaba mi orkani as well as magi life the magi conflict of interest to the profession edana mama pana tamoin tamruk ai tamning de moi haibai tamani ai chana de nat mama sana chana ba potu the khandok bigedam ni haibai but right now in our state today angang sing sina they don't have the right to decide their own future mama pana lepe ado nang si taw na haiba masi makti khatang chumba walaba matam oiramani hujikti aduna akoina tawdui kaino hakanda let the children know what the world is around him or her karino mai ko de leiri se khangal kanda opportunity me am si ura kan sida opportunity sidagi magi chana ba talent sing do khando o kan sida akoina magi schooling si tawgadabani na haibani ado ngasagi art education si matang sida one last aina makatang haini haijeningi si kaino hakanda akoina magi teacher education gi maramda laiba NCERT ACERT da sum samnaba kanda dum haijebani hujiki ano angang gi saruk sta holistic progress card ena semakador ano mathangi hujika na workshop tawo hore macmillan na kaina thadok ko horobani hai bo holistic progress card se manipur da sa sida di angang sing lai yauru dui ne bata angang gi saruk sing loina makse ozana tawduri ba magi assessment tawduri jangang observation tawduri ne observation tawduri ni aduga man ozasna hore record tor kadui aduga angang si almost activity da speaking the listening the narrative the storytelling the loina mag sing se numeracy do ero angang sing si kayam progress tawi tal kadui matangse oza sing se hanagi mechanical oiba mong the lari para takpa magi para kar putak takpa yaro do. That is the teacher must be strongly involved to it. And hojikti magi oza sing sigi magi philosophy is entirely changed story. Hanadi oza ji transmitter of knowledge ni I know everything you know nothing in a koina angang kem khang po de loin khang in ta man house entirely changed. Teachers are the facilitator of the students I say. Angang ji kamai tawraga koina Masi facilitate to Gudagis, when a Kangani, Magi Kovidalekan, I have to be a part of their society, the Yawarka. Magi system those as Yawdin. Adoitati Angang, children's world in a when Angang Saruksin, see Kalakan, the Quenatambi, Gudan, quite Lubamana. Angang is he trying to give Mamanga Magi self-esteem. I get the Gudagis Lepodro. Doitati, I can't it. Saurakan and Gato, I can't it. I ain't total lakan, Munta, high is in chicken. They don't have the self-esteem. And as he trying to give among the Magi goals, fixed our kana, opportunity mayam, the Peter Kanchida, Magi Kangan Beavas, Kangan Lakana, Ngang since self-esteem Chilekan Toduri. And a self-esteem Lehudo Bangang since senior queda, Ambera Karija Hang, Karito Duno Kangdaba, Mina Tamenta, Mama Banto. And on top of that, Aquedam Daga, like aside, Quena Oza, Sujit, Suhaigiba, the Dynana Sukitan Pangiven. Parenting, of course, is very important. Parenting say the Parata say para dictatorial parenting ni ay na highway ito godam ni highway. Aduna ako the parenting modality si kitang sales to sangi angang sing siga ay yam na autocratic style na taba am na laissez-faire models na taba angang sing si am na kaya tare cooperative model da angang sing siga mama pag ani siya friendly werakanda without any kind of the hesitation of telling or knowing each other haitare lo na si khangna rakan sida angang si loina rakan ma opportunity si pi rakan sida ko same with them ko education system na magi biggest loophole se kai rakan parenting ki so so out of ne magi textbook sing si ozana ta iduna atu simpa pura angang si loi ngasai oza surjin hai ga ma Japan da haina ba mu kle ko na thingna ma tam da I never visited there adu bu aina thingna ba kle Japan ne class 4 book si moi textbook um da tam de moi aina han jing bi hore aina moi curriculum jing kan kai do ga kan nang na society si lai ba tam da nang gi no gi daily routines nang na mingon da kramai ngang ni parent da kramai ngang ni nang purit kamai na su ni phi kamai thupcha ni khung kamai kap thani yung gi pot kamai loisan ni char kamai na thong ba tam ni haiba human being a move gi foundations mayam se oina tam ma kan se da now he will come to the line of formal education thole akoi gi na adu gi mayam se loi kala kan se da metric thabanga am wa bujikti ngasa ha gi kudam pan ba directory ni phi pot ba directory ni UP thaba directory ni that totally lost their life skills aduna ngasa gi certificate is paira kanda akoi ga raita re yamna phajaba phagi mu lai akoi gi mina ha ma pa ne to masaje na luna to mangi na ma pa na decision lepi ba aduna mina no sana ba sapada mina pura kapala e ada kala ore nang di pura di kapadi na ma pura ini hai nang di na khut hanyandra ha kana tutum tabi ho hai mama da I think I can conquer. No nothing. How should he decide according to the situations? Conquer. Na parenting the so you see na height of a coin angang since kudam wina Karihata La Martiniere school site record. Lucknow the lady way am how schools is sigi koigi sas susing haitare koigi angang singi masatam they do the muy interests mind away. Come out of you pretty laganda ozasana hangne. Nangi kudam se 1 2 unbutton to haine ada angang sina button the kudam sa sa lokto kanda magi khut ki skill jo haire ado 1 2 is magi activity the kudam sing se khang na tamne nang khum mari se nang khum mari gi magi eyes do khum se less kun bakanda masing du kya no hairo I kanda counter haire kan sumain tor kanda magi practical activity the mangon da yauri ba nangi se kudam oine nangi kusa se ama pol tawro ani thekalo ka le huri ka na hangbu ba sumaina koina tawe hai ada akoi gi sidana sem buto abcu adagi kaino hayu lai sangwena taw mechanical learning se koi dagi kitang sense taw sangi aduna koi da huji last but not the least in appeal to jening is mayam da koina maximum of teaching in amakle se art form da dum do yawgani henglo selak matam da kaino ka nagang like tam mi matam da akoi da leriba maximum se kaino ha kan khana na hodori se non to unknown akhang badagi khang da bada ngang se like tam bigedam akhang mana hor kan khang da badu sakani then easy to difficult in arai wa hanan tam bir kan ru lakani near to far and anakpada ai koi bada lady ma'am khanga matungda arapa ge wakando tambigani aduga concrete to abstract akoina min uriba khutna paiba yariba thengi ba khuding maksi lairaba matungda abstraction ji lakni hairibagi system ji hekara ko matamda ngang na tamgaduru lyric sing se loina mak akoida kare hatare mong chumdaba system do set kani lawe sine ina haijening mase the matam sam limited oiram dina ai swice the lepsage may aprum ko once again I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Dinesh. We have one question from, I can read out the question. So the biggest question in the whole discussion is still, why should art be introduced in education? Is it the mission or vision to enable skill-based learning or something else? The larger question is still in void. So this question is from Nikki. This question is for everybody. So anyone can take this question.
Okay, I prioritize to jarage yahan mada logjarage sigi question se sahaya music now we are planning when early childhood care education and ECCE early childhood care education se now government of Manipur along with ACRT is tying up with there is Azim Premji University and we are now trying to form the curriculum for the state level that we shall again corporate with the NCRT Delhi. How should we try to develop this school education curriculum? This is the art education. Art education is art in a yaudam. Art in a masi han hana art is segregate the udom. Art say it must be mandatory. Art must be a mandatory part of the curriculum that it must be very instrumental to impart educations to all sections of the school. Loina makta hayeng sakholaga dikhra pai aduga class 6 tagi 8 phawagi level bawo haibetare aduna magi professional art ki ojamu oibagi nataba makhada leriba punamak sigi composite learning system am lying constantly art simakse it must be on the driver's seat of the teaching learning pedagogy system the yauna na kana honari I think it will be materialized soon in the years to come next year.
Thank you, Sir Dinesh. Very well said, sir. Mathani has also said quite a lot of things in chat box. I would like Mathan to please share it so that we can play in your own voice.
Yeah, so just one sec. So introducing art in education, like I was sharing in the group in just one context, that is like, for me, I'm looking at like, how do we improve the learning levels of our children, right? So what are the different methodologies that we use in improving the learning levels of our children? Art, what we have seen is example, I'll just share one example. What we have seen is that we have been using sports as a methodology, right? अखोई स्कूल दा कोई स्पोर्ट्स की मेथोडोलॉजी ओने यूज तौरगा तौरा कोई फिजिक्स की क्लास मैथ्स की क्लास we tend to use sports, right? And what we have seen is that those who doesn't understand the concepts inside the classroom easily grabs it outside the classroom when we use sports, right? And then learning levels have improved drastically, right? And in terms of life skills, social skills, also when we have used sports as a methodology, a lot of improvement has been there. Right? So just talking in one context, I was saying that art should be introduced definitely, and it should be mandatory so that our learning levels, in the context of learning levels, it gets improved drastically. And because we are looking at the contextualized, we have been talking about context, that we have been looking at people who are looking, our parents, our students who are all inclined to academic competencies, right? So in that sense, I believe that art can also play a huge role in bringing that gap.
I think Das and Jyot might add two more onto this.
Yeah, so the question about does art has to be only in visual form? So the key question is that quite nasaidigi ozawina jo hari memse art hiraga just nasagi visual dukhata nate asai amu haraka dus psychological and philosophy ama yawi na habidi anga mana pot ama semapa matamda o lai ama yalapa matamda characterize haitare ko magi keno akogi expert amanadi magi character je khangakadoina adu karam karamba angang no adu kamai torpna because all the akogi as a dancer and choreographer myself ko whenever I want to create something is I always want to express something from my previous trauma or previous kind of psychological things ko adudagi social involve akogi manipur da awaba phangiba sumba mayam jagi awaba phongto expression body expression amane akogi arts haitare performance to admaina masagi visual arts is the haitare ko akoina not necessary is always visual. It's all also psychological term that naina kadoina ba se aduna bo kana school atopada di psychologists ma thamnari ne ba angang gaida wari sanana ba sombagi education gi matang da kai gino dinga sai character do aduna ngasagi wari na sanarapang ngam da bajine ba ngasagi as a art form visual oina mut try to kajuje ngasagi and body amala kadoise ngasagi sigis am samnar kadoise kai no di wari sanabang abdaba ngasage ai even ai isamakse ai jo wari sanagadi am sanai sanadringai dadi ai je yamna ikaiba or confidence laitaba dumba mayam lei haitan moigum bajidi amu kaina ngasagi verbal na magi expression do ngamaktragadi ngasagi atopa way of approach maybe dancing music painting sumba mayam je la kadoine potse aduna ngasagi painting adu adado is ngasagi hata ye alone ye ambagi wazuna te ngasagi visual de magi thought angang dogi process what they are in this kai haita mayum da khanaram bayai mayum da chaina bagi thona bagi trauma oi bagi adum bagi lai pada even thingnaramani even myself akhoi photo da mamai da yakshan bi masagi ko confidence mangapi sungbajo we have to study this. It's a visual art but we need to study this haiwan masagi angang do magi ngasigi posine ba kona not necessarily masagi maji artist ohelage or adugi natte ba masagi pos akoina oja hoina ngangai mem chu akoina magi angang ma ki ngasagi everyone have their own journey ka magi patongan tongali adudagi maron khara hainadaba adudagi wangang bada wari libada khara haigiba physical sungba mayam je thidor na baneba ngasagi art chila toje aduna ngasagi and visual adude sida amtaga haujage it's not expensive mayam jin art is expensive so high but at the same time it's not expensive. I will tell you this example. Aina jo haijagre ambada. Quite expensive is nature, and we have our nature. Is Manipur have a very good resources, and we have to take this granted, And Sigipos, akoina chingda, loktakta, torienda, labukta, akoida laitaba laiteba, akoi Manipur we have everything. So nasagi akoina mapanda tauriba poto, yes, we have to observe akoigi sungba posi jo koi collaboration tauraga moina kai taugre akoina kai taugre sum tanabu wani, but we have to just exchange but adubo ngasagi mogi poto atangba poto laini habiliteba. We can find aina akoi example amtang aijage aina workshop umatawe angangi Sunday da aduda I just moi kasum porakte ko aduda aina haya noi apamba kasai lamji da chalo aduga noi apamba kai ama poro nung oigera saite oigera adu lai oigera noi apamba do you collect it ko moi pore moi ge journey amaju laijare they collect and just decorate it adu moi decorator paje amna settle oibe yaw anga man torpada ahal managa tawbo dawna ngamoidaba haitar ko moigi purity amale, and that is what we akoina jo haji artist amo angang olu u kaina akoi jo nu tauri neba. We always try to calm down our purity ngasai ego duna nataba ngasai pure do ngasai nushibagi pure adugi potu neba admaina ngasai angang do ngasai nung ama khulakpa chaite ama khulakpa lay ama khulakpa. We are not going to buy it, you know, it's not expensive, it's there, it's all around. So adung bagi posiju akoina not necessary aina hygienic is it can give one if we have money we can buy others, but if we don't have money we still also can do art practice habi one masagi indigenous practice from the kamana kulopi sanabada. Yeah, kulopi sanabda we don't need to expend money. Sorokta lang nung may am tari ko. Just example, sungba may am jiju akoina how we can collect it. Ngasagi indigenous practice or resonance or community practice. Sungba jiju amna darkale na khale. Coming to the ngasagi akoige to identity ana sidajo mula kadoini poche akoige ngasagi community saitare. Sumaina sharing to bigi culture akwai aina je mayam gi lon khangdaba sijo akwai gi asol ba man, because school da ngangna tabe share tawna tabigi sungwa mayam amujule. We are so proud for 34 dialect in from Manipur, but I only know only Manipuri. This is so sad, you know, because we never taught this school to communicate each other with different language. This also very necessary what I'm going to say. So Nasai art doesn't mean we have to expend money, we have to practice like a Western, like, you know, we can go down deeply to our own resources. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, so I'll just, I mean, before ending, I'll just take, because I was just checking the comments by Nikki. I completely agree with what she says that the purpose of art in education is to be a bedrock of critical thinking, right? Because again, I'm very sorry, but I didn't realize the context of the conversation here, because I came in as someone from education, like how are we going to be using art as something in education, especially since we are dealing with schools. How do we improve our learning levels, or what is the thing that I came in from that perspective in itself. But yes, very true, I agree. And this is a larger conversation also, like not just art, right? How do we this thing enable, and how do we bring this concept of critical thinking? Because without critical thinking, like I was reading the comments, it becomes very much impossible right now with the current state that is there in not only in Manipur but in the whole world, right? Where we're here, where we're heading, where conventions as well as the whole idea of critical thinking is getting shunted in and out, right? Day in, day out in our daily lives as well, right? So I think it's a very important, and thank you for pointing that out. And then it's one purpose that I think it's very important that we don't have to miss out, that it becomes a bedrock of critical thinking, right? And then yes, because like you were saying, we were just talking about projects and skills, because mainly, like I was saying, the context of this conversation, how are we shaping it? Me, I am coming in from school ka background, and then how this thing, and brother Surjit, Diana, and Sir Dinesh also comes in from different perspectives. So very sorry that, I mean, the conversation cannot be in the direction which many audience might have wanted as well.
I would just like to add a few points in this, and I would take the opportunity to club both the questions from both the participants, Nikki and I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the other person, Achan, right? Okay, so the whole idea of bringing arts into education is not necessarily for a particular vision or a mission. Yes, definitely there's a perspective to look on that aspect as well, as a vision or as a mission, so that we can collaborate in larger aspect to bring the whole importance of art in education. And coming down to the question why we need art in education, for me, with my experience, I think art is everywhere. It's a part of all of us, of our own personalities, of our own identities, and particularly in terms of the education system, in terms of the syllabus that we follow largely in the whole country and in the state. I think art is very much of any or each subject content, be it maths, be it science, be it social studies, etc. For example, maths, the shapes, tambakanda, shapes are a very, very important element of art, of any form of art. Colors are very important for chemistry in science, right? So every subject content has an aspect of art, and that is why we feel that art, not necessarily as a subject, should be brought in with the other subjects to match on and promote artistic development or cognitive development in children. And for example, with the project that I am leading at the school, we are focusing in visual literacy to promote 4 certain skills. For example, the 4 C's, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and also creativity. So the whole idea of, yes, we need to teach, or we need to educate ourselves, or somebody who is in education should become a lifelong learner, is the whole concept of education, I strongly believe, not necessarily to get a job at the end. So to become a critical thinker is also to be able to solve problems in our day-to-day lives, and also to help enable one to create an empathetic and a compassionate environment. And that is what we need to appreciate. I mean, in the land of conflicts and challenges, why do we need art in our education is to get the essence of all the skill sets that we can learn through arts, and also to understand that arts is very much a part of any type of subject that we learn in the education system. So yeah, not only the 4 skills that we can develop, like the 4 C's that we can develop through art education, but it's largely to have that compassionate environment where we can care for the nature, where we can care for the culture, we can care for our own tradition, customs, etc. With it's an intersectional approach, I guess, because we cannot necessarily teach shapes in maths without understanding how lines are formed in arts, so art is very much everywhere. And the whole idea of bringing arts in education, the importance of art in education, is not to identify art as a subject which can which should be learned differently, but it should be integrated and incorporated in all subject matters, in any form of teaching methods, and in any form of leading a education system. For example, the activity-based learning, playful-based learning, application-based teaching, etc. So art overall is meant for the holistic development of individuals as learners, and that's why I feel there is a need for educating arts and bringing in the importance of art as a subject in the existing system of education. That's what I would like to add.
So well said, Diana. I wish I could add more, but I just can't add more because you've just said it so beautiful. We're almost at the end, but I want to ask Madhani just one tiny question, because you have been working at the last mile community. Do you think we are putting too much of the onus on the teachers? Because you face the reality. I would want to know how can we help the teachers, or how do we deal with this?
Yeah, so where do I even start? So this is the reality that is happening in almost every nook and corner of our state, as well as the different parts of the state, right? And then the challenges are again different in the mainland, so-called mainland country, states, right? So yes, it is example, we have a student strength of around 450 to 500, right? And where we have around example six teachers, right? So it's a huge responsibility already, right? And then example, and most of the teachers are not trained. Number one, most of them are again proxies. Number two, those who have been trained, the real students that are existing are 55, 60, almost 60 towards 60, right? So when we bring forward these ideas, there's a huge gap in between in terms of communication as well as in terms of the motivation, right? Example, my substitute teachers doesn't want to take ownership, right? And my substitute teacher is saying that I want to finish my class of three classes in a day and go back home, and I want to do a conventional one, right? My real teachers are saying that we don't have motivation anymore. It's beyond our age, and now we just want to continue with what they are doing, right? So these are the challenges. I mean, which is happening in almost every places, right? And in private schools, again, private school, the teachers that we interact, again, most of the aspiration is also again that our teachers get good marks, right? So anything outside, it is a huge challenge. So what I have asked is that whenever we start this conversation, they ask is that, let's do it as an extracurricular activities. And when if some students are interested, let them come and be part of it, right? So there's a huge, I always talk about aspiration, huge gap in between in terms of aspiration of our children as well, parents, the teachers, different types of teachers, right? So it's a challenging one, but like you guys, so I want to tell everyone that Unibrow team had done something recently amazing in Phunger. So we would love such more collaboration, and then hoping that, I mean, we can start this thing slowly as well as reach out to much places, urban, semi-urban, rural places. And then I think if we work continuously in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see magic.
Wow, what a way to end. We are gonna soon see magic. I I mean, I am just speechless like right now because with such amazing panelists and so much, I'm actually speechless. So I wish we could go on talk about this thing, but I think this is just a beginning, like how Mathani said. Uh, we shall do more in the coming days, and hopefully we will all be again together someday once the pandemic is over and we can all be free. We will all meet face to face and talk more, and not just talk but also put in action. Thank you so much, Sir Dinesh, Dasurji, Daina, and Mathani for taking out time. And thank you everybody who has joined in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thanks very much again. And thanks to all the participants for taking out time for this.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. And see you next time. Yeah.
Bye bye.